Hello, Patriots, and welcome again to Patriot Point, a program where you can get the news from a Christian, conservative, constitutional, and common sense point of view, things which are sorely lacking in the mainstream media. And on this channel, we discuss those things that the mainstream media is completely ignoring, things that they won't tell you about and they don't want you to focus on. And I hope you'll tune in each and every week. Before we get into this week's news, I need to ask a favor of you. I have been thrown into Facebook jail for posting conservative things. See, Facebook, like a bunch of these liberal socialists, they don't like freedom of speech. They only like those who agree with their leftist liberal agenda. I've been in and out of Facebook jail more times than a Joe Biden ballot is counted, over and over and over again. So if I can't post on Facebook about this week's video, can't do it till next week. So if you can copy the link for this video and then go to your Facebook page and paste that, that will help put out information about this week's video for everybody who is on Facebook. You do that and I'd really appreciate it. If you don't do it, I will not appreciate it. But you can continue to watch anyway because that's okay. Well, now let's talk about this week's news. Remember that game that you played when you were a kid, a lot of people had, called Guess Who? Well, guess who just violated the religious liberty rights of Kentuckians? If you guessed Andy Beshear, that is correct, and you can give yourself one Patriot point. Guess who just violated Kentucky law? Again, if you again guessed Andy Beshear, you are again correct, and you may give yourself an additional Patriot point. And so Andy Beshear is now working again against the pro-life movement. There is a wonderful pro-life organization here in Kentucky. It is called the Sunrise Children's Services. And this is Kentucky's oldest and one of its most affectionate adoption agencies and foster care services agencies. Has been incredibly useful in getting kids with qualified, loving families. People who need, kids who need families. Andy Beshear is refusing to renew this organization's contract simply because this group is based on Christian principles and they refuse to back away from their Christian principles. And this actually is a violation of the law. Allow me to read for just a moment. I'm going to read for you what's called KRS 45A. KRS stands for Kentucky Revised Statutes, and that is the official term for Kentucky law. And notice I'm about to read for you Kentucky Law 45A, and it says that you cannot do these things because of the contractee's religious beliefs. Notice what the law says. I'm going to read it here. It says, quote, "No contracts awarded for the use and benefit of the Department for Community-Based Services shall interfere with the contractor's freedom of religion." And it specifies that in KRS 446.350. So if you're thinking, hey, Andy Beshear is not going to do business with these people because of their religious Christian principles, if you're thinking that that is illegal, that is correct, and give yourself another Patriot point. If you're thinking, I bet this isn't the first time that Andy Beshear has violated religious liberty and violated Kentucky law at the same time, guess what? That is also correct. Remember last year he violated both the law and religious liberty when he banned in-person church services. So I hope somebody will do something about him again violating the law and violating our religious liberties. Not only is he violating religious liberties or violating the law, he is also continuing to decimate Kentucky's economy, and he continues to put out propaganda and misinformation about what he is doing. Just this past week, he put out a post and says how he's made some great measured steps this last year and a half, and Kentucky is prepared to be an economic leader because of the steps that he has taken. This is complete propaganda, and he is lying to you. Let me give you some of the facts about this. Kentucky is now, currently, as of today, ranked 48th in workforce participation. That means that we don't have very many people who are actually working in Kentucky anymore. If you want to look up the actual numbers, 43.3% of all able-bodied adults who could work now in Kentucky are unemployed. Why is that? Well, it's because Andy Beshear got on TV for a year and said, hey, don't go to work. It's not safe. Don't go to church. Don't travel anywhere. Just stay home. I'll take care of you. I'll send you a big unemployment check. Now, first of all, we see that he lied on that in several instances. He's got on his propaganda hour recently, in recent months, saying, well, I never told people to not show up for work, when we all saw him say that multiple times over. And then he says, oh, I'll send you a big unemployment check. Well, we saw hundreds of thousands of Kentuckians haven't got their unemployment check. And then there's still been thousands of them who got something. And now Andy Beshear says, you know what, I'm going to be taking that back out of your check because I don't think you should have got it in the first place. So it's huge. And now what do we have also? Everywhere I go, I'm seeing signs saying, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. We have got a problem where people now are making more money on unemployment than they would be if they were working. And so there's the idea, why should I work like a sucker when Andy will just send me a big check? If you think, hey, that sounds a lot like socialism, guess what? Patriot point, that is correct. And that's one of the problems that we have. Another problem we have is, how come Social Security benefits are less than the unemployment insurance? I think that they should be at minimum equal. And here's another problem. I'm just going to throw this one in for free. Here's one of the problems with the Social Security tax. If you're working right now, they're going to take out some money for Social Security with the idea, oh, we're going to give this to you later in life when you retire. Well, let's say they take out $1. Today, dollar is worth $1, 100% of the face value. But they don't give it back to you till you retire. So that dollar they take out now and then give back to you in 20 years, you know what? That dollar no longer is worth a full dollar. It's worth about 50 or 25% of what it was 20 years ago. So they're taking 100% value and giving you back about 25% value. You ever think about that? It's one of the reasons we need to change that entire system, and I hope that we'll get some people up in our federal offices that we'll send up from Kentucky that'll start making a difference with that. So let's talk about this. We have now people who are not working. Demand for products and services is still as high as it's ever been, but now we have less people who are working. And so what does that cause? It has caused the value of everything and the prices to go incredibly high. So we have people only working when the government says so. If you don't work, we'll send you a check, and the government will decide who's important enough to work and who is not. If you are thinking, this just sounds like the communists have just completely taken over, that is correct. I'm going to tie this up with a quote from Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson said, I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. See, it's never the government's job to take care of you. Self-reliance is what America was built upon. And we need to get back to some of those foundational principles and stop this nanny state overtaxation program, which is wrecking our society, wrecking our economy, and we need to get back to the way that it was designed and set up at first. But I just gave a quote from Thomas Jefferson. So I want to tie that into this week's, it's a little segment I do every once in a while about a moment in Kentucky history. Yes, in this month in Kentucky history, the month of May, it was in this month from Thomas Jefferson in May of the year 1780 that Thomas Jefferson, who was at that time the governor of Virginia, he signed the Louisville Town Charter. At that time, the land of Kentucky was part of Virginia. That is why years later, when we separated from them to become our own state, we took the term Commonwealth because it was the Commonwealth of Virginia. And when we took that land away to become our own state, we called ourselves the Commonwealth of Kentucky. But also in May, in the year 1884, is when the first Louisville Slugger was made. So two important things that have gone on in Kentucky history here in the month of May. So that's a little information about what is going on right now, how Andy Beshear is continuing to fight against the pro-life organizations. He's continuing to violate religious liberty. He's continuing to violate Kentucky law, and something that I hope that you will share that information about. I hope you'll share this video's link on your Facebook page. And until next week, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point. Stand strong and breathe free.